What's going on, everybody? It's Ricky with Videohomicide. Welcome to the year 2023. We are currently in the future, and since we're now in the future, I wanted to start off the year with a new series that I'm going to do periodically, over the course of the year, maybe a couple times a month, maybe once a month, maybe I might fucking skip a month or two, who knows? But at the end of the day, we're talking about 5 VHS tapes with sentimental value, okay? So, and what I mean by that is these are movies that I'm going to be showing you guys, and I'm going to be talking about the personal connection that I have to them, which I find almost as interesting as listening to a movie review to me. Like when you listen to a movie review, a lot of times it's like whoever the fuck it is will be like, yeah, this is this movie, blah, 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 this happens, the end. Did I like it or did I not? But you don't really know about their background, and I find that shit highly interesting. So I wanted to make a video documenting on that. So they're not all horror, but they're all favorites of mine, and I think that you guys can probably connect with at least some of them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start this off with a movie that sort of, kick-started my interest in horror, okay? Now, when I was a kid, and I'm talking young, like I'm talking like, 5, 6, 7, 8, I would go sleep over at my grandparents' house. And my Uncle Mike, who you guys have heard me talk about countless times, he's been on the channel talking about different things. If you go through the history of all the videos, like you'll find some videos with my Uncle Mike talking shit about like Clockwork Orange and I think David Cronenberg and all kinds of stuff. So that stuff is really interesting to me as well. But his collection was at my grandparents' house, and I would sleep in his old room. And there was a particular movie, and I'm talking about the image was only on the spine. This isn't the exact tape. I would have loved to have that. That would have been through the roof for me in terms of sentimental value. But the movie was, and the image was this exact thing, Alice, Sweet Alice. Okay, so this image from Alice, Sweet Alice was on the spine of the copy that he had in his collection. And whenever I went over there, I would flip the movie basically. Like I would hide the tape, not hide it, but like flip it so I couldn't see that, because it freaked me the fuck out. I thought it was so weird and trippy, and like, it wasn't even like the fact that there's like even though it's a doll, but like there's a baby being stabbed. This mask with like this grease, I always thought it was like a paper bag or like a fucking, I don't know. It looks like a paper bag to me, but after watching the film years later, I realized, it was like a raincoat kind of thing. But Alice, Sweet Alice is a really good fucking movie. Especially if you like giallo films, you'd probably like this flick. I think it was really, really might have been. I don't remember if it's European or if it's American, but I just remember there being like that. The part that I remember the most is like that greasy fucking guy that's like living upstairs or whatever, and he like wants to fucking rape the little girl or what. It's totally trippy movie, but really good kills. Like, it's been years since I watched it. I'm not gonna fucking sit here and bullshit you, but I really do enjoy this film, and it scared the fuck out of me way before I ever saw it. And I told my Uncle Mike about that years later, and he was like, wow, like I never really thought that. And then it took me a long time to find the film, let alone watch it, because I was back in the day of, I probably picked this up either at a thrift store or maybe at a horror convention like Shock Sock or whatever. But Alice, Sweet Alice, man, I can't begin to describe how scary. And like, he had some other crazy fucking movies with like crazy little spines, but that just fucked my head up. So moving on, we're going to talk about a movie that I think everybody loves, and that is Tales from the Hood, of course. Oh, I forgot to mention who directed Alice, Sweet Alice, but whatever, fuck, doesn't matter, I guess. Tales from the Hood, directed by Rusty Cundiff. And written, I believe, by Darren Scott along with Rusty. So this is an amazing anthology film. I've talked about it recently, I believe, during the 31 Days of October. But my connection to this film goes like this, and I might have mentioned this in that video, but it's worth repeating in my mind. This movie I found at a shitty thrift store that is now a Chinese restaurant. And I remember thinking, like, this is so fucking crazy, because first of all, I seen Tales from the Hood, and obviously I knew about Boys from the Hood and all that kind of, Boys in the Hood, whatever the fuck, and I was into hood films. Like, I'd seen Belly and shit like that at this point, and, a bunch of other crazy stuff. But I bought this for like 50 cents, took it to my dad's house, and we watched it, and we like fell in fucking love with this movie. It might have been, other than like Tales from the Crypt from the 70s, and you know, maybe a few other little anthologies peppered out here and there. This was the first one that I ever kind of, I didn't know what the word was for it, but I knew there had to have been a word for it where, you know, the word was anthology, but like it's just a great movie to put on anytime because like all 4 stories, I believe it's 4 stories, and then like the wraparound, like they're all so good. You know, my favorite is the monster one. You know, there's like the abusive uncle, and you know, the kid paints him as a monster, and I love like the interaction where he comes busting in the door with like the painting that the kid drew. And, you know, he goes, you like to draw fucked up pictures of people, huh? You want to make me look a monster? And when he says that, it, like, cuts to his arm, and he has a tattoo that says monster. And like, I always thought that was sick because there's a guy in Boys from the Hood named Monster. Like, he's, like, the guy that shoots the fucking AK-47 out of the back of Ice Cube's lowrider there at the end at the fucking fry shack. But finding this movie in the wild and, like, and thinking it kicks ass so much, like, meant a lot for me, like, personally, because, like, you know, I was probably, like, I would say either 9 or 10, you know, when I found this film. And, like, the thing is, and, like, me and my mom were talking about this the other day, like, or, like, on Christmas, whatever the fuck, you know, how, like, she kind of just, like, let us do anything, and the only thing that she ever took away from me, like, that she didn't let me use, like, she let me play Grand Theft Auto 3 when it came out, and San Andreas, and fucking watch crazy movies like Goodfellas when I was a kid, and Clockwork Orange. Like, she didn't give a fuck, but I had the D12 CD Devil's Night, and that pushed the boundaries for my mom. So, you know, because I was like, I had sat in my room, and I had the little fucking ghetto blaster, and I'd put Devil's Night in, and, you know, if you know that album, you know there's some twisted fucking songs, like, especially the one with Bizarre, where he's like talking about it, like, if like there's a lyric where it says, don't you want to be fucked from behind, and in that tone, it's ridiculous. But I don't know how I got onto the subject of D12, but I partook before I record this video. But this is a great film that I, you know, am proud to have introduced my dad to, because he introduced me to so many good movies, and, you know, I'm forever in debt. So this was one that I fucking found. How about that? You know, it's hard to top. You know, when a guy shows you movies like Dawn of the Dead and fucking Omega Man and Planet of the Apes, and, you know, a huge fucking range of fantastic movies, like, how do you repay the guy? You know what I mean? And, like, that's, like, something that I've, like, thought about, like, a lot lately. It's, like, the first exposure to, like, different movies, and, like, you know, what was the connection there? That's what made me want to make this video, you know. And I'm probably going to forget to say certain shit and say too much on certain other shit, but I just thought it was, like, a really kind of fun way to reconnect with shit. Because, like, even now, like, just talking about, like, that era, like, that shitty fucking thrift store at that Chinese restaurant, like, all of that stuff is, like, flooding back other memories, you know. And it's kind of fucking crazy. So I highly recommend doing this if you want. Speaking of anthologies, this is a movie that me and my dad, who's going to pop up, like, a lot throughout all these fucking videos that I do on this subject. He used to live above a variety store, okay? And, but the variety store he lived above was shit, okay? It was overpriced, and it was fucking shit, and it was small as fuck. Like, there was nothing in there. The only time I ever went down there was for a loaf of bread, a loaf of okay bread. If you're from around here, that's like the cheapest fucking bread you could get back then. I don't even think they make okay bread. And it just said okay on the bag, but, that was about it. But down the street, like 2 blocks away, there was a variety store, and they rented movies, and they had, like, a lot of fucking movies and a lot of good ones. And we rented body bags back in the day. And I remember watching it, and like the scene that stuck out the most to me was the John Randall, Mark Hamill fucking segment where he, like, you know, gets the eye transplant, and he has, like, these flashbacks of, like, you know, the previous owner of the eye, and he was, like, this abusive psychopath that was, like, fucking tortured by his mom and burnt with cigarettes and all kinds of shit. But I remembered that scene, that segment the most, and you know, returned the film to the variety store, because that was where we rented, like 80% of the movies I rented as a kid came from convenience stores, corner stores, whatever the fuck you want to call it. We call them variety stores. But I like always sought out what the fuck this movie was called, because I always wanted to see it again. And it wasn't until, like, fucking years and years and years later, I was watching someone's collection video. It might have been Moods. It was probably Moods. And he showed body bags. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a fucking sick name. Like, let me check that out. Let me look it up. And sure as shit, there it is, man. So I picked this up. I don't know from where. Fuck, this is kind of disappointing, but it says right here it's the edited version, which is great. Probably fucking, it says approximately 95 minutes, so who the fuck knows what was cut out. But I've actually never watched this tape because I have a DVD of it, so I just pretty much go for that. So I think I got the I got the fucking Scream Factor. I was trying to remember the name of that company. It's been so long since I picked up movies, man. Like, it's ridiculous. But shit is just so ridiculously cheap, expensive up here in Canada right now. Like, you know, a bag of oranges is like $7, you know, or like the bags of oranges that I get that used to be like $3.99 are now like $5.99. Fuck, it's sad. It's sad. Like, the cheap bread is like pushing $2 now, and eggs are like a $3.69. They used to be like $3. Like, it's fucking nuts. So hopefully, once shit calms down, once I have a house, you know, planning on getting a house soon enough, and you know, once that kind of gets in order, then maybe I might kind of sniff my way back in. And it looks like there's a lot of really good stuff being released right now, and I think that's awesome. But the thing is, like, there's so much. It's like, how could you ever get it all? Like, unless you like sell blow, or you're like in fucking finance, or some kind of you got like a really sick income where you can get all this shit. Like, it's impossible, man. Like, I would never get a movie over food. You know what I'm saying? So obviously, I mean, but there is some cool looking shit. Like, Severin is like putting crazy stuff out, like stuff that I want to watch all the time. But fortunately for me, like, the power of the internet and the power of greasiness, like, you can find movies on the computer. So I'm not too worried about that, you know, in terms of just being able to watch them. But to be able to spend $50 per movie, and, you know, like, that's like 2 movies, that's $100. Like, you know, $100 is $100 fucking dollars. I'm not gonna spend $100 on 2 movies. I would spend. I'm more prompt. I would rather go to like Odyssey Records and like buy some shit from them, even though, like, say, like, the selection might not be as big as like a place like Cinema One, but the selection will be, you know, sort of fine-tuned to what the shop is about. You know what I mean? Like, the, you know, like horror and fucking kind of cult cinema and shit. Like, they have that kind of stuff. Like, they have like a fucking Asian cinema section. You know what I'm saying? Like, places like that, you know, they usually have something you can pick up for like $20 or something like that. But paying $50 is like, no. Like, this whole 4K thing, like, I will never be 4K. No, thank you. I'm not spending who the fuck knows how much money to get a 4K collection of all these. Like, I would never rebuy movies. The only movies that I would buy are like ones that I really like, really want to see in 4K, or just like have, like, if I could find like a 4K of, say, Belly, or like which would probably never fucking happen, or maybe it already has, who knows, but you get the idea. Next, we're going to be talking about Uncle Mike again for a minute. So when I was a kid, he always used to say this to me and my brother. He used to say, there's this movie that I know, and there's a guy, and he goes, have you ever had an Egyptian feast? And like, he did it in this crazy way. And one year for my birthday, he gave me the movie, and that movie is Blood Feast. So this is the exact copy. Something Weird Video. He ordered all these from fucking catalogs. I always ask him, I'm like, dude, like, where the fuck did you get these? Like, what was the catalogs called? And I would love to get my hands on some of those just to see some of the other titles. But yeah, Blood Feast is amazing. And then once he purged his collection, my dad took some of them. He picked up, obviously, 2000 Maniacs and Color Me Blood Red, which is my favorite of the trilogy of H.G. Lewis, Herschel Gordon, that is. But the reason I brought those up is because that is, like, when I think about the stuff that I like, it's all the stuff that I was exposed to as a kid, you know? So, obviously, Alice, Sweet Alice, Tales from the Hood, Body Bags, motherfucking the Blood Trilogy. Like, this is all shit I watched very young. And that's the stuff that I connect to the most with. And also, I want to quickly say, if you've never seen a movie called Blood Quantum, directed by fucking Jeff Barnaby, who's a Canadian director. He's a Micmac native. Micmac native from Northern Ontario, I want to say, or maybe out west, maybe. But he passed away in October. I had no fucking idea. So check out his movie called Blood Quantum. It's fucking hardcore. It's a really good flick. And the reason I bring that up is because I was on bloodydisgusting.com, because I do that sometimes at work just to kill time, read an article or two. And they were talking about, I seen his name and I was like, fuck, I know that guy's name. And I clicked it and it was talking about his first feature. And it said like that he passed away in October. And I was like, what? I follow this guy on fucking Instagram. How would you know? You know what I mean? It happens, but it's sad, man. That guy had amazing vision. So I highly respect him as a filmmaker, and it's sad that he's gone. Yeah, shout out to H.G. Lewis as well, though. The final movie I want to talk about, well, movies in this video, is the Lethal Weapon series, man, which is a these are all sealed, by the way. I gotta quickly fucking point that out. These are the movies that I honestly can't watch unless I'm with my brother. There's a lot of movies that, you know, I showed him when we were growing up. Like, I'm 6 years older, so I would show him everything. When he was a kid, like, he was watching horror films. Like, he's of the, you know, he was born in like 98. So his contemporary stuff, like stuff that was available when he was growing up, Paranormal Activities, all that kind of shit was like coming out. But I was showing him movies like The Thing, like his dad showed me The Thing. I'm showing him The Thing, Return of the Living Dead, fucking Evil Dead films, Clockwork Orange, Heavy Metal, The Burning, Maniac, like every fucking possible like quality film you could think of that was like horror, or just like not even didn't even have to be horror. But Lethal Weapon, man, those are the movies we watched those a lot. Like, I remember when we first discovered them. You know, our favorite is Part 3. Part 3, there's like a really good. I love the whole thing, but there's a really good moment on that boat, like where Riggs and Murtaugh have like a fight. Like, I love that shit. Me and my brother, you know, I don't even know how many times we've watched it, watched those films. And even at the end, like Part 4, which is like what I consider like my least favorite, even though I still like it a lot. There's like that scene at the end where Pesci talks about like his pet frog, and like even that's like, you know, got heart with it. And it's, I don't know, man, Lethal Weapon, they're action films, but they're buddy cop films, they're comedies, but they're just like, they have a heart and soul, and that's the thing. And I highly recommend you checking out the director's cut of Part 1, 2, and 3. I don't believe there's a director's cut of Part 4, but 1, 2, and 3, they fucking add so much to the films, man. I highly recommend checking those out. Part 1, obviously, like Part 1, like the first like 10 minutes, fucking Riggs is against like a school shooter, and you wouldn't know unless you watch the fucking director's cut, man. You gotta watch it, man. But, you know, I appreciate everybody for checking out the video. Stay tuned for future videos, and you know, stay tuned for Cinema 187 issue 2. It's a zine that I've been putting together. We're on the second issue, and it's going to be dropping soon enough. I'm going to make a total video talking about that, because I got a lot of sort of loose ends to tie up with that. So again, man, 666 in the comments, and adios, amigos. I'm going to smoke a huge fucking cone and edit this whore of a video. Not like there's much to do, but